You gotta give him that huck.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 9 of the NFL season. The Vikings are playing in prime time, which is good because I just spent the last week or so getting ready for a card tournament that we hosted. And I want to, first off, to those of you who are in the narrow middle of the Venn diagram where the Magic players and Vikings fans exist, thank you for coming. That was a good time. I had a very good time. I am tired, but I'm going to try to get fired up and do this quick video talking about the Vikings game tonight against the Colts, featuring the return of TJ Hockenson. But first, this week's beer, the 2023 barrel-aged Dark Father American Imperial Stout from Bent Brew Distillery in Roseville, Minnesota. Obviously, super cool can. I thought it kind of fit the theme, being the night game. It's dark, it's purple. Costumery with Halloween, in the not too rear view mirror. The 2023 barrel-aged Dark Father American Imperial Stout, aged in wild turkey barrels. 12.2% alcohol by volume. No crazy stories behind it. Here's to hoping the Vikings get back to their winning ways this week against the somewhat woeful Colts. Skull, feel it there. That is so delicious. It is creamy. It definitely has that like bourbon barrel aged like kind of sour mash finish to it, but it is so smooth and so flavorful. I should maybe go back sometime and look. There have been a few stouts that have really knocked my socks off, and this is definitely one of them. Just the smoothness alone. And especially given that there's no like real gimmicks to it, it's not like a chocolate chip coffee Andes mint stout. It's just a barrel aged stout. I was prepared to like it. I was not prepared to love it that much. Well done, Bent Brew Distillery. All right, tonight's game. Again, I'm not going to go on at length. It's an interesting game. Obviously, there have been lots of references to the last time these two teams played in 2022. That was the year that the Vikings collectively sat down on one giant horseshoe and won tons of games in ridiculous ways, most notably breaking the NFL record for the largest game or the largest comeback in a game, beating the Colts like 36-33 in overtime. There are some other interesting tidbits that, for example, Joe Flacco will be playing quarterback for the Colts today instead of their sophomore quarterback, Anthony Richardson. Joe Flacco was in the same draft class as Vikings head coach and former quarterback Kevin O'Connell, which is just kind of neat. Be sure to, when you're watching the game, look when they cut to the sidelines and interview the two of them. Flacco has aged very well. I mean, considering that he took him until he was in his 30s to figure out how to get a decent haircut. But it looks like maybe years and years of a longer playing career in the NFL ages you a bit more rapidly than Kevin O'Connell's sweet, sweet baby face. It should be an interesting matchup. I mean, obviously, okay, we all wanted to beat the Rams, right? The Rams should have been a victory, but in the Vikings' defense, the Rams are an entirely different team with their two, I don't know if all-star is the word for both of them, but two very, very good wide receivers, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, and the running back Kyren Williams. They had them both back last week when the Rams hadn't had either of them for the weeks beforehand. So we were playing a different team than I want to say they were 2-4 going into the game. They were a better team. And we lost to the Lions, but kept it close. And that's not a shameful loss. So I know I made a little remark about the Vikings try to play football in the intro. That maybe wasn't fair. They are still 5-2, and that's respectable and better than we thought it was going to be. And hopefully they get it done tonight. Things I'm concerned about. First, on offense, the Vikings have been kind of sloppy. Lots of pre-snap penalties, illegal motion, illegal formation, false starts, even when they're at home, which on the road you expect some offensive miscommunications because of the crowd noise. at home, they just looked sloppy. And that's a little concerning for a team that kind of prides itself on Kevin O'Connell's scheme and being this offensive machine that moves players and moves pieces and gets people open. And if you can't get the ball snapped in a way that cooperates with the rules, that's a concern. Also, losing Christian Darrisaw, a definitely like all-pro, all-star, whatever word you want to use, left tackle, the blind side, that's huge. Darrisaw is phenomenal. And hopefully his loss isn't immediately apparent tonight. Defensively, I don't know. I'm not a great football knower, but the Vikings have not been able to get pressure on the quarterback the last couple weeks. And does that mean that the league figured out Brian Flores' scheme coming into this year? Does that mean, missing Ivan Pace or Blake Cashman? Like, are those guys the linchpins that make the whole thing work? Was it just because, both Stafford and Goff are good at doing, quick release passes before the pass rush can get to the quarterback? I'm not sure. I will be watching very closely tonight. Flacco has been very good for the Colts. Like, very clean. I think 5 touchdowns to no interceptions. But he crumbles under pressure historically. And if the Vikings can get some pressure on him, this could be a very one-sided affair. That is assuming, of course, that the Vikings defense, which had been rating very well against the run, lately has been getting gouged. Jahmyr Gibbs and Kyron Williams both kind of punched some holes in that brick wall. And again, I'm not that smart, but I'm curious how much of the Vikings' apparent stout run defense was more about them getting big leads and making other teams pass. So running backs just weren't getting that many touches against the Vikings, and how much of it was them actually stuffing the run. I know they're going to be without Taki Taimani, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name, who was credited with being a great member of the run defense. So hopefully we are not going to watch Jonathan Taylor just freight train us. Beyond that, the Colts offense is weird because they've been, Flacco, Richardson, Flacco, Richardson, now back to Flacco again. The offense seems to work better when Flacco's playing. The wide receivers seem to get more dependable usage. They have a complete carousel of tight ends. Josh Downs seems to be the biggest benefactor of having Flacco back in at quarterback. But what I'm kind of worried about is Anthony Pierce, because he's kind of a deep ball specialist, and I think he's not getting many targets, but the ones that he does get are for all 10 plus yards, big completions. And with the Vikings secondary issues, that could be scary. Ultimately, it's a winnable game at home on Sunday Night Football. I'm excited to watch. Hopefully we can get back on the horse and keep going and keep rolling. I'll wrap this up. Hope you all had a safe and happy Halloween. Skål, fila there. And go Vikings.